Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, let me check. Yes. All right, guys. So we have 6 or 7 students in the chat. All right. So Tanuj, am I audible to you now, or for others also? Am I audible? Okay. Thank you. Tanuj, can you please? Okay. In fact, let me just type it here. He's not able to hear. So Tanuj, can you please rejoin? All right. All right, guys. So let's not waste any more minute. Let's jump into the PPT now. First of all, I welcome you all to this demo session. And today I'm going to explain you the roadmap of DevOps. You might have heard DevOps, in day-to-day life, or maybe if you are looking for a job, then you might be hearing this term DevOps, right? Or maybe your senior is working in any organization as a DevOps engineer, DevOps professional, or DevOps consultant. So what exactly is DevOps? Okay, so I'll be explaining you what exactly is DevOps, how you can be a DevOps engineer, what you have to learn to be a DevOps engineer, right? And DevOps is something, it's not a technology, first of all. DevOps is basically a culture within the teams, within the organization, how to deliver the product. Okay, the end objective is is the delivery. Okay, delivery, feedback, plan, create, build, like that. So we'll be talking about all these things. And let's first of all start with my introduction. My name is Amit, and I'm working as automation architect and a DevOps consultant for my organization. I started off as a programmer, web programmer. I was into developing web applications using JavaScript, jQuery, HTML, CSS, PHP. Okay, I'm talking about
देखा
2000
पहले पढ़ा
in.
डेवऑप्स का हुआ है क्लास चलती है
Correct. So I've muted. Right. So I started off as a application developer, web application developer, and slowly and steadily got into Linux administration. And from there, I went into automation domain. And from there, obviously, when you are into automation, you are technically into the DevOps zone, right? And it's all about then learning more tools. Okay, so it was a gradual increment for me, gradual, we can say, promotion. Like I promoted myself from, let's say, a support engineer on Linux, and then to the DevOps consultant, right? So all in all, I have 13 years of experience. And as I said, starting from the software development to IT operations and cloud. And when we talk about the certifications, I am certified in RHCE, which is Red Hat Certified Engineer. And to get this certification, you need to first of all clear RHCSA, which is Red Hat Certified System Administrator, right? So RHCSA, then RHCE. After that, AWS, which is the Amazon Web Services, right? The Amazon Cloud, as you know it by the name. So, and finally, Red Hat OpenShift. So, as I said, it was not something that I did it in advance. When I started working, I gradually got interested into automation. Then I cleared RHCE. Along with that, I cleared AWS Cloud certification, then Red Hat OpenShift, because these are all associated technologies when we talk about DevOps. Okay. And as I said, I'm actively working right now. And parallelly, I'm also providing trainings. I'm working with Network Kings, and And if you are my old student, so you would be knowing all this, that my focus mainly is on hands-on learning and real world scenarios. In my sessions, I don't stick to the theory. Mostly the theory is like 10 or 15% at max, and everything else is practicals, the commands, or maybe the practicals, not only the commands, but the practical scenarios, the labs. Okay. In fact, the day one we start, we are going to create a lab for ourselves to start the learning process, right? So if you don't have anything to practice on, you'll just stick to the books, you'll just stick to the PPTs. And let me tell you, PPTs and books are uh, have no I mean, won't help you a lot when it comes to interviews, when it comes to clearing the certifications. You need hands on, and without the lab it is not possible, right? So uh, practice. With every slide we'll be having some sort of with every topic we'll be having some sort of mini labs, and in the end of the topic we'll be having a proper lab for that topic. Okay. Okay, so since it is the DevOps training program, you should understand what exactly is DevOps, what are the DevOps concepts. Um, when we talk about the concepts, you will be hearing a lot about Dockers or containerization, Kubernetes, right? Or the cloud, Terraform, Ansible, GitHub. What exactly are those? Let me tell you, DevOps is not a technology. It is the culture, the working culture. Um, for example, in a software development company, they are into, let's say, software development. They're creating some some softwares for the other businesses. Okay, it can be as simple as accounting system. Okay, so the coders, the developers, the programmers, they are going to create the application using the database, using some programming language, and that application has to be hosted somewhere so that the end user can log in and use that application. Okay, so when we talk about the hosting part, for that we need infrastructure engineers. For the development part, application development, we need programmers, right? So to smooth the process of developing, from developing to the deployment, everything in between is part of DevOps. Okay, development operations is the complete full form. And if you want to get into DevOps, you need to learn series of, we can say, series of applications, maybe a programming language or an operating system as well. Okay, so if you want to get into DevOps, you need the knowledge of, let's say, Linux operating system, some tools like Git, GitHub, um, obviously the cloud, CI/CD pipelining, how it is done, with what tool, right? And for the automation part, Ansible or Terraform. Okay, so all these things you need to learn. In fact, all of these things are individual technologies. Okay, so you are going to learn multiple technologies, and then you'll be ready for DevOps. There are thousands of companies in this world, and no two companies are using the same DevOps tools. They might be using different tool set, but the idea is the same, which I'll explain you with the help of a mind map, like what you can learn. Okay, so what I have selected for this course is something which is used globally by majority of the organizations. Okay, for example, for containerization, Docker, although there are more alternatives available, but Docker is most commonly used. Similarly, um, for let's say automation, Terraform. Okay, although again other tools are available, but yes, Terraform is the most commonly used. So if you are into job hunting, you are looking for a job, if you know these tools which are commonly used by most of the organizations, then getting jobs, at least getting um, interview, or we can say shortlisted for the interview, is easy then. Okay, so the chances will be higher, your CV will be shortlisted. Okay, you will get more interview calls, right? Okay, so the first point, understand the understand the core, not the course, sorry, it is the core. Understand the core concepts, of DevOps, where you will be learning starting from the Linux operating system, because Linux is the backbone for the cloud infrastructure and most of the DevOps tools. Okay, so Linux is really popular in that area when it comes to cybersecurity, when it comes to DevOps, when it comes to cloud. Linux, the base operating system that you should know. So, what in Linux is it like complete end to end, or maybe something like certification level? Like there is a certification called RHCSA, which I said. Okay, so are we going to learn that much or just enough to learn DevOps? See, when we talk about system administration, pure system administration in Linux, there are many topics. There are like 30 or 40 topics. Okay. But when it comes to DevOps, you're not going to just log into a Linux machine and just perform the administration, user management or patching management or even permission management. You might be doing all of this, but maybe project basis, on the project basis, right? Not every day. It's not going to be your day-to-day work. So our focus has to be how to use Linux, bare minimum user management, permission management, how to manage installation, update of the applications, right? And little bit about security and networking. Okay. So all of these points will build solid foundation for DevOps. And every time, whenever we, have a batch for DevOps, we always start with Linux because Linux is the base. When you are familiar with Linux, then it is basically a stepping stone. Okay, then everything is basically falling into the place. Because with Linux, you are also going to learn the basics of containerization, or we can say the containers. Okay, and then we'll start with proper containers, Docker container, Kubernetes, how to auto scale. There are so many things, right? And then we'll get into the cloud. Everything is interconnected. In fact, before we get into the cloud, we will also learn about automation. Okay. Okay, so we start with Linux. And in Linux, as I said, Linux itself, the base fundamental, how to manage files, users, permissions. Then little bit about security, like firewall within the operating system, and the networking, OS level networking. We are not getting into CCNA level, the OS level networking, right? And then we'll start the containerization. Okay, and we'll be using Docker, although apart from Docker, there is one more thing called Podman. So Docker is a command, Podman is also a command. Okay, so there are variations which I'll explain you when the time comes. So we'll start with Docker containerization, and then we'll get into automation using Ansible. Okay, so we'll be covering these 3-4 topics, and then we'll get into automation. So at that point, we will learn Ansible automation, which is basically a application. It's a tool using which you can manage multiple servers. For example, create a user demo on all 100 servers. Okay, whatever servers are there in your organization. So you can use Ansible for that. Okay, so you can use Ansible, you can deploy 100 users within few minutes. You just have to type few lines. That's it. Okay, so you don't have to log into every server manually. Okay, so it can be, the server can be on-prem or on the cloud. If it is on the cloud, then Ansible can connect to the cloud and then manage the servers, the virtual machines which you have created. Okay, so since we are talking about the virtual machine, as I said, on day one, when we start this batch, we are going to create a virtual machine. We will install Linux on it, and then we'll start the DevOps journey. Okay. All right, and build after containers, we are going to build scalable, highly available, fault tolerant infrastructure on AWS and Azure clouds. Not Azure, but we'll be focusing on AWS, right? So this is the idea basically. In fact, let me just type it till here on AWS, right? And till here, we'll be dealing with multiple files, configuration files with Ansible automation, right? Or maybe with Terraform or container files, right? So all these files need to be stored on some location, on some central location. We call it repository. Okay, and we'll be using GitHub for that, Git and GitHub. So we'll be learning Git and GitHub. We'll be creating some files. We'll be implementing CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous delivery. This is very important when it comes to state management. You need to have a state of the environment, like 20 servers, some network devices, and these 20 servers will have, let's say, Ubuntu operating system or CentOS or Red Hat operating system. So everything will be converted into a instruction. We call it as a template. Okay, so that template, if there is any modification in that template, you'll be doing it on the GitHub. Okay, and once you do it, automatically the environment, the actual environment will be updated. If you say in the template, add 3 new servers, automatically on the cloud, 3 more servers are deployed. It is all done with the help of CI/CD. And the tool we are going to use is Jenkins, right? Although GitHub Actions is also something which is becoming really popular. But we'll start with Jenkins because, again, as I said, Jenkins is widely used. Okay, so in most of the organizations, Jenkins is used, not from today, I mean, from ages. And in fact, if you know Jenkins, if you know CI/CD, how to implement it, how to set it up, you can get a job on the basis of Jenkins itself. Okay, in fact, you can get a job on the basis of Linux, on the basis of Docker alone, on the basis of cloud alone, on the basis of Jenkins alone, on the basis of Ansible alone as well. Okay, so all these are, as I said, individual topics. You can deep dive into each and every topic, but again, it will take many months, right? And what I have designed this course is for 100 hours. So we'll be utilizing 100 hours. It's like what I have planned is minimum 1.5 or 2 hours a day. It's going to be a 5 days a week, minimum 1.5 hour or 2 hours a day. Depending on the topic, we will be, utilizing the time, and we'll be covering all of the DevOps training within these 100 hours. Labs included, practice labs included, and obviously interview preparation included, right? Okay, coming back to this. Okay, Linux and networking. Yes, Tanuj, you have a doubt? Any question?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Good
please.
evening, sir.
Good evening.
सर जो ब्राउज़र मिला था उसमें तो कुछ ज़्यादा ही टाइमिंग था, मतलब 320 आवर्स टोटल था, तो आप कह रहे हो 100 आवर्स?
320 hours. Okay.
करेक्ट। और
Can
एक क्वेश्चन हो रहा है सर,
Mhm.
जो ब्राउज़र मुझे मिला था उसके अंदर मास्टर इन डेवऑप्स के अंदर दो फर्दर पार्ट्स थे,
Mhm.
एक बेसिक था एक एडवांस था, तो
Okay.
क्या ये दोनों कवर होने वाले हैं या सिर्फ
It's
बेसिक
a
कवर होने वाला है?
no. It's a mix of both, basic and advanced. So the one you're referring to, 320 hours, is okay. I remember it now. There are two phases basically. Phase one, the basic, which is more or
यस,
less like an overview. Okay.
करेक्ट
Then
करेक्ट।
the advanced, which deeps dive into each and every topic, elaborated, and there are per topic there are some labs. So that makes approximately 300 hours.
यस, और एक फाइनल प्रोजेक्ट भी है 120 आवर्स का, तो वो भी कवर होएगा?
Um, I'm not sure. Actually, I need to check what is that project for 120 hours. But the project which I have
कैप
designed,
सर
sorry.
कैपस्टोन प्रोजेक्ट है।
Okay, that one, yeah. So if you want, we can do that. We see the project thing. We can decide on the. We can say when we are about to finish the course. Okay, so
ओके।
there are series of projects. You'll be free to choose from. You can use any of it. I mean, you can form teams or individually. You can pick a project, and we'll work accordingly, right? Also, if it is possible, can you share that brochure here? Is it
यस बिल्कुल।
allowed? Hold on. No, you can't because there is nothing, there is no option for attachment. Or maybe the link.
यस
Okay.
सर, लिंक के लिए तो पीडीएफ है ना, तो वो कैसे आएगा?
Link in the sense, if you are logged in on Adobe
मेरे पास
Acrobat.
आपका नंबर है
Hmm.
शायद, एक
Acha,
जस्ट
you have it. Perfect.
मिनट। नहीं सर, नहीं है।
Maybe on Telegram if you are my
मैं
old student.
लिंक्डइन पे है सर आपका प्रोफाइल बस।
Okay, okay, okay. Got it.
मैं
So you
आपको
can.
शेयर कर दूंगा
अच्छा
अपनी
ठीक.
ड्राइव में डाल के।
Right, right,
देन
right.
आफ्टर द
Okay.
क्लास मैं आपको ड्राइव में डाल के वो ब्राउचर शेयर कर दूंगा।
Yes, yes. Okay. All right. Okay, so the next point, which is orchestrate and deploy containers in production like a pro with Kubernetes. Okay, if you don't know Kubernetes, no worries. Kubernetes is used for managing the containers, or technically it is called container orchestration. You can deploy containers, you can auto scale them, you can configure the containers in a way that you have minimum downtime of the application even during the uh, maybe what do you call it, if there is a problem or there is a scheduled maintenance in the sense you have to update the operating system, you have to update certain applications. In that case you have to bring down the cluster. Okay, so how to minimize the downtime? There are so many aspects with Kubernetes. You can deal with everything. Okay, and when it comes to automation on the cloud, on the virtual environment, everything can be handled with Ansible and Terraform. Okay, so it's like Ansible and Terraform. Okay, uh, Ansible itself is a Python-based application. Does it mean that you need to know Python? Python is highly recommended for the DevOps engineers. If you don't learn it now, you will be forced to learn Python when you start working. So better to learn it now. Okay. So with the help of Python, actually Python will help you with cloud automation and various other tasks. Okay. So we'll be learning a bit of Python, not till the advanced part. I think till for loops and functions and modules, we'll be learning Python. Okay. More than enough for the DevOps engineer. Same for the Linux automation using Ansible, as I said. At the same time, Bash shell scripting. Shell scripting is also something that you should know, because during interviews, interviewers are going to definitely ask you about Linux, shell scripting, networking, Python, and Terraform. These are, what do you call it, pet topics. They will definitely throw some questions on you on these topics, right? Okay, so this course is designed, as I said, we'll be starting with Linux fundamentals. And then after we finish Linux fundamentals, which means Linux, containers, firewall, OS level firewall, and OS level security. Once we finish this, obviously, yes, there is one more thing, shell scripting. We'll get into the DevOps culture. What exactly is DevOps? How it is, what tools comprise of DevOps, right? And DevOps toolchain and modern CI/CD. DevOps toolchain is the same thing. What tools you are going to use, and modern CI/CD like Jenkins or GitHub Actions. We'll be learning on that one. And after that, we'll start with cloud, AWS cloud, and container orchestration. And once we are done with this, then we'll move the manual part to the automation part, which means again the automation infrastructure as a code with the help of Terraform, and configuration management with the help of Ansible automation. Okay, so now there are so many topics, and the DevOps is not complete without monitoring and logging. So you need to learn some applications which will help you monitor the environment, the infrastructure that you have created. So another application to maintain the logs, and an application to analyze those logs and give you some visuals. Okay, some graphs, charts, and all. So monitoring and logging and observability. This is going to be our last part. Okay, so 6 topics, or we can say 6 modules overall. And as I said again, we'll be starting with Linux. So what are you going to learn in Linux? You're going to learn, first of all, how to deploy, a bit about virtualization, because we'll be creating virtual machines, right? Basic stuff, basic commands, how to deal with files, how to deal with permissions and ownership of the files, user management, application management, networking and process management, shell scripting, and a mini hands-on lab. This mini hands-on lab is not one-time lab. For every topic, we have guided exercise, we have labs, okay? Okay, so this is the entire course for DevOps for Linux. If you are already aware with Linux fundamentals, RHCSA, there were at least 20 to 25 topics, if you remember. Okay, so obviously we are not going to cover everything. We are just going to cover whatever is required as a DevOps engineer. Right, so after that, we'll jump into the introduction to DevOps as a culture. So what are the key concepts, definition of DevOps, and a brief comparison between agile practices and DevOps. So there is also one term called agile, really popular. Used to be really popular, but now it's DevOps. So agile principles versus DevOps. What is the best way or the best approach for development and operations? Okay. So as you can see here, the DevOps lifecycle: plan, code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, monitor, feedback, and based on the feedback, go back again to planning. So it's an infinite cycle. You see this image below? You're starting with the planning to code, then build, test, release, deploy, operate, monitor, and again, after monitor is feedback. And based on the feedback, you plan for the next iteration. It keeps on, the flow is like this. This is the workflow. Okay, and we'll be, creating the labs and various projects on this workflow. One really important thing, we are in 2025 right now. It's the age of what? AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation. So I'll be stressing more on automation and AI. Okay. Machine learning is something which is a different domain altogether. For that, there are several other topics to learn. Okay, but what we can do is we can incorporate automation, which with Ansible and Terraform you will learn, and AI. How to incorporate AI in DevOps? I'll tell you. I mean, not right now as we proceed. So we'll be, having various topics in the middle where we can use AI, we can get the help of AI, and we can basically reduce the manual effort. Okay, so AI can do many things. AI can reduce manual efforts. AI can help you find anomalies in your environment, or we can say the breaking points where something can go bad. It can identify that or those things in advance and also suggest you how to fix it. AI can generate code for you. What kind of code? With Ansible, you have to type instructions in a file called playbook. Those playbooks, in fact, let me show you a demo. This is like just 4-5 line, but let me open a lengthy one if I have. Just a second. All right. Okay, so see, have a look at this. This is a playbook which will deploy a web server on all the machines which are there on the network, on in the project, we can say, right? So all of this you can type manually if you know Ansible, or you can use the help of AI, which will guide you, or which can basically also assist you with this coding. It can also produce the entire code. You just have to give a comment what you want. It will produce all the code. So we'll be using Visual Studio Code for this, okay? And we'll be using some plugins, add-ons, like here I'm using Codium, right? It's free to use. You just have to sign in. And with the help of Codium, you can basically have the entire code written by AI, provided you know how to read it, you know how to understand it. Okay. AI can also do mistakes, can give incorrect solution. So you should be in a position to, have a look and see, okay, this is not correct. Right. So first we learn Ansible, then we get into AI, or how to use AI to get, to produce the complete playbook. Like this was created by AI itself. Right. not only this, even let me show you one thing. Okay, so this is one application which I'm working as a, as a self-learning. For self-learning, I'm working on it. And most of the code is generated by AI. Okay. And it is basically made up of 45 custom files and 2000 other framework files which come with the system. So AI is able to understand everything. It is able to scan all the files and accordingly suggest code snippets. Okay, so if I say get all the users email from the user database, let me do it here. Hold on. Okay, so as a comment, I'll say fetch all user email IDs. Okay, hold on. I'm in the middle of edit. Okay. Okay, so you see this? It's saying something. This is in gray. It is the code generated by AI. You use a tab key, it will autocomplete. Again, uh, a user, sorry, it's an argument for this function. Enter, enter. I mean, you just use tab, it will autocomplete. One short example just for now, but as we proceed, we'll be, working on this part. So this is just one example, guys, how you can use AI. And ultimately, I try my best to have a project on AI ops as well. Okay, so AI assisted operations, right? So we'll see how we get through this. All right, so once the introduction to DevOps is done, then we'll get into the actual tool set. The first one will be GitHub, Git and GitHub, right? Using this, you can it is basically you can have your own repository, custom repository, locally or on the web, and you can have your code saved over there, and you can link the GitHub with CI/CD using Jenkins, and you can basically create a workflow, end-to-end workflow, starting from the development side to the deployment to the production, and you can all stack it up in one single pack. Okay, so this is basically the CI/CD. Okay, these are CI/CD pipelines. This is the terminology. We can also have AI assisted code reviews and suggestions using GitHub Copilot. Again, this is something that we'll be using. GitHub Copilot is now free. It used to be paid, but it's now free. We'll be plugging it in into this Visual Studio Code. Okay, you see this on the right. You can, I haven't signed it yet on GitHub Copilot, but if I do, it will do the same. Like this Codium plugin is doing, it will do the same. It will help you with the code generation, reviews, suggestions, error fixing, error fixing and error highlighting as well. Okay, so Jenkins, GitHub Actions, Git, all these are really popular tools. Okay, Azure Git DevOps, this is really popular, mostly used by the organizations which are client to Microsoft. Okay. Next one is cloud and container orchestration. We'll be starting with Docker basics, Docker images, containers, Docker file, how to create your own custom Docker file, which is very easy. Once the Docker is done, then we'll move into Kubernetes overview. Again, alone Docker will not help you. You have to learn Kubernetes, which is management of containers. With the help of Kubernetes, you can do many things like scaling, rolling updates, rollbacks, and auto scaling. There are so many things, right? And we'll start with AWS as well. And in AWS, we'll be mainly focusing on the compute part, the virtual machines, AWS Lambda, and And there are many storage technologies, database technologies, networking on the cloud. All these things will be learning. Okay, so when we talk about AWS, it is more or less like um, the entry level certification. Okay, so all those topics are covered in AWS, the associate one. Okay, and AI for orchestration, again, AI driven auto scaling. So we'll see how we can incorporate AI and how we can plan, or how we can set it up so that it basically predicts when the traffic will be high for that application and scaling is required. So predictive insights will be shared by AI. You can take actions, or you can let AI take the action based on the prediction. Okay, so we'll see how it is done. Right. Fifth point is introduction to AI AAC, infrastructure as a code. So if you want to maintain the consistency in your environment, when I say environment, it means the servers and which are connected via the network, all those things. Okay. All right. So when it comes to the environment, it has to be infrastructure as a code. Using Terraform, you can do that. And for the configuration management, like for the endpoint, the Windows servers or the Linux servers, for the management, let's say you want to install some application on multiple Linux servers or multiple Windows servers, you can use Ansible for that. For the deployment of the servers, you can use Terraform. For the deployment on the cloud, you can use Terraform. And for the management of the endpoints, or we can say the servers, application installation update, operating system update, Ansible is there. And when we talk about Terraform, we'll be learning about HCL, HashiCorp, language basics, provider, resources, variables, the templates. And when we talk about Ansible, we'll be talking about more or less for Ansible playbooks, how to use playbooks with roles and collections, Ansible collections, like that. Okay, so again, all these are 20 to 30 topics long, but in a summary, we'll be covering them all. Otherwise, they are, as I said, individual topics. Some are 50 hours long, some are even more longer. Okay, like Ansible itself, it is 60 hours, 55 to 60 hours. Ansible Linux is again 55 to 60 hours. Okay, right. And lastly, as I said, observability, monitoring, and logging. Okay, so you need some data to create some stats, or we can say charts, pie charts, bar graphs. Why do you need all those things? To check what's happening. Okay, so whether the environment is efficient or not. So for that, you will be using Grafana. Grafana is the tool which will take data source, cloud as a data source, or logs as a data source, and it will generate some graphs for you. Okay, it will also tell you whether you are using more money on the cloud, and also can you basically optimize it, the expenses, the expenditures. Obviously, when you use cloud services, your client will be billed, right? So all of those things can be checked. Prometheus, you can set it up for alerting. Okay, you can set custom alerts if something, let's say, if this storage on a server is used till 90%, you'll get an email, or maybe you'll get a ping on Slack or Teams, the applications. So all of these things can be configured with Prometheus and Grafana. And yeah, so this is going to be the last part, and obviously we'll end the course with a project, the mainstream project. Okay. Right. And so the approach for this course, obviously, first of all, it's real-time command practice, step-by-step configuration guides. When I say step-by-step, it means guided exercises. The task, I will give you a task, and below the solution, the task, the solution, step-by-step, right? And obviously, it's a project-oriented approach, which means we will build a fully automated DevOps pipeline with AI enhancements. DevOps pipeline in the sense end-to-end DevOps project. Okay, so hands-on practice first. Again, as I said, we'll be starting with the virtualization, create a virtual machine, Linux machine, and then start practicing. and emphasis on automation and AI, not only on automation, but automation on and AI, right? Okay, so this is it, guys. This is going to be the complete course. And as I said, within 100 hours, we'll try to wrap it up. There are like 6 or 7 topics that we'll be learning. Those are standalone topics. You can learn them individually and get jobs on them. But if you collectively learn them, you can easily get a job as a DevOps engineer, and later on, get promoted to maybe DevOps consultant, okay, or maybe the architect. Those are really big roles, okay. All right, so next is the Linux fundamentals for DevOps, which we are going to cover on day 1. Okay, so we'll start from there. Any questions, guys? Any doubts?
यस सर.
Yes, please.
सर प्रोजेक्ट से पहले इसके अंदर मैंने ना पहले तो सर आपको वो शेयर करा है लिंक्डइन पे, तो आप एक
Okay.
बार चेक कर लीजिएगा उसको.
Right, right.
और उसके अंदर एक स्केलिंग का भी है, जैसे अब आजकल कंपनीज में चल रहा है हॉरिजॉन्टल और वर्टिकल स्केलिंग,
Yes,
उसको थ्रू द एलबी मैनेज करना, तो
yes,
वो चीज भी है इसमें.
yes, yes. It is part of the Kubernetes. Scaling,
यस.
not only horizontal, vertical, but auto scaling as well.
ठीक है, तो ये कवर होएगा ना.
Yes, yes,
ठीक है. और अभी जैसे आपने बोला कि हम ग्राफाना और प्रोमीथियस कवर करने वाले हैं, तो
yes.
ग्राफाना के अंदर ना एक उसका और है लोकी, जैसे जो हमारी कंपनी में यूज हो रहा है.
Yeah,
तो
Loki is the basic architecture. Yeah, though that Loki configuration and all, it is part of Grafana.
तो वो भी कवर है ना सर लोकी.
Yes, yes. It is part of
तो
the topic. Yeah.
ठीक है. तो सर बिकॉज मुझे ना क्या इशू आता है कि जैसे सम टाइम हमारे को लोग्स निकालने होते हैं फ्लाइट्स वगैरह के, तो वो
Mm-hmm.
मेरे से निकलते नहीं है. मतलब उसकी जो क्वेरी है ना लोकी की, वो मतलब हमेशा उसमें कुछ ना कुछ गलत हो जाता है.
Mm-hmm.
तो
Yeah, no worries.
वो
Don't worry. As you know, we'll be starting from scratch. Uh, this, as I said, this badge is for freshers, right? If you don't know anything about DevOps, any of the topics, no worries. We are actually going to start from scratch. Every topic, Linux, uh,
ठीक है.
maybe Git, or maybe Jenkins, whatever it is going to be from scratch, right?
ठीक है, तो वो
Yeah.
चीजें कवर हैं. ठीक है.
Yes, yes, yes. It's all covered. That's why it is gonna take 100 hours. Okay.
ठीक है. तो सर एक इससे एक अलग क्वेश्चन था, मतलब वो भी
Mm-hmm.
पूछ सकता हूँ.
Yeah, yeah.
ठीक है.
Please.
तो सर जैसे अभी ना मुझे 3+ ईयर्स का एक्सपीरियंस है बीइंग एज ए
Mm-hmm.
नेटवर्क इंजीनियर, तो मुझे ना प्रोफाइल चेंज करना है.
Right.
तो ये उसमें हेल्प करेगा, मतलब मुझे क्लाउड में ही जाना है.
हाँ, ऑब्वियसली एज आई सेड, अगर आप नेटवर्किंग प्लस AWS भी कर लें तब भी आप स्विच कर सकते हैं इजीली. नेटवर्किंग प्लस एंसिबल कर लें तब भी आप कर सकते हैं. नेटवर्किंग प्लस जेनकिंस, कोई भी एक टेक्नोलॉजी भी कर लें तब भी आप कर पाएंगे. बट इफ यू collectively learn all these technologies, this will give you a wide range of job opportunities. क्योंकि अगर आप सिर्फ Linux प्लस नेटवर्किंग के साथ जाते हैं तो मे बी देर आर 1000 jobs, or as a DevOps जाते हैं तो maybe there are 5000 jobs. So you will be able to apply on more, right?
ठीक है.
Yeah. And guys, if you just target networking or just target Linux and networking, and then you will be, getting the in the job description, you might see mandatory CCNA, mandatory RHCSA certification. Okay. But in DevOps, generally, they don't look for mandatory certifications. At max, they might ask you for cloud certification, AWS or Azure. Okay. But otherwise, they won't be chasing you for CCNA or Red Hat certifications. Right?
Hi, Amit. This is
Yes. Hi.
Suresh.
Yeah. Hi, Suresh.
Right, actually, I'm a senior network engineer.
Yeah.
Working for Cisco and SD-WAN stuffs. So
Mhm.
how it will be helpful for me?
See,
Because
if
right now
you.
we are not using any automation.
Mhm.
So how it will be helpful for me?
Okay. See, yeah, there are actually many areas which will help you. First of all, when you learn Ansible, you can use Ansible for network automation. Instead of, performing the configuration manually, you can connect all the network hardware with Ansible and perform the configuration. Okay, so which will obviously save your time. This is the level 1. Level 2 is if you are into cloud as well, you can set up a cloud network environment for your customer. Also use Terraform for that with Ansible, and you can basically automate everything. So this is just, just the introduction of it. But otherwise, as a DevOps engineer, it's a mixed bag. You will not stick to networking. Networking will be part of it, along with operating system knowledge, tools like, as I said, Jenkins, Git, GitHub. All these are actually required as a DevOps engineer. Okay,
Okay.
so based on your current role,
Mhm.
Ansible is the tool to go for.
But not the whole DevOps, right?
Not the whole yeah, I'll be honest, yes. Based on your current role, yeah. But if you're planning to switch, then yes, you have the complete suit.
Okay. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah. All right.
Hello, Ami.
Yes, hi.
Quick question. Yes.
Yes, please.
So, what would be the timeline for this? And also, I'm a part of another master program you're actually currently teaching. So, I see a lot of, topics that is overlapping with this one. So,
Yes.
what do you think this will be, another?
Yeah.
How could you benefit this,
Okay.
knowing that I'm already part of that?
Yeah. Okay. So, if I'm not wrong, you're learning Linux, right? RHCSA.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So in RHCSA, you are learning end to end the basics of Linux, Red Hat Linux, where a bit of security in the form of SE Linux is there, firewall, container introduction to shell scripting. Yes, though these are all common topics, right? Apart from this, if you learn Terraform and the cloud, then you are cloud ready. If you don't know cloud, if you don't know Terraform, then you're not cloud ready. Then you'll be just restricted
have a
to
certification for AWS solution. I already have that certification already.
Sorry, please come again.
No, I'm saying that I passed the certification for AWS, I think last October.
Then it's perfect.
Solution
yeah,
architect.
Yeah, perfect.
And and the thing, the RCS you're actually teaching right now, if I'm not mistaken, it's a master program, right? This is a continuation after the RCSA. We have to do the RSCE too. Correct?
Yeah. So RSCE is basically Ansible. Correct.
Correct.
So if you're learning
that,
yeah, please continue.
So I'm saying, knowing that I'm already part of that program. So you recommend doing this, as well, or you think maybe something I should put on the hold for now?
Okay. See, RHCSA is certification level training preparation. So once you finish RHCSA course, you'll be ready for the RHCSA certification, right? Similarly for RHCE. But in DevOps, you need not to go till the certification level. Okay, so as I said, we'll be touching few topics from RHCSA. We'll be touching few topics from RHCE. More than enough as a DevOps engineer, but not at the level of certification. Okay, as I said, because these individual topics are 50 hours long, 60 hours long, and we have 6 or 7 such topics. It's gonna take more than 6 months. Then, if you're into DevOps, you're learning DevOps, complete topic end to end, more than 6 or 7 months are required. Okay, but again, we'll be learning that much, which is required for DevOps. Right. So, coming to your point, you are familiar with Linux. You're into, I'm not sure, but if you're into Ansible course as well, then 30 or 40% of the job is done. Okay, then it's all about Kubernetes. The cloud, right? So it's all about Kubernetes, Jenkins, and monitoring and observability. So these 3 topics will be remaining for you. Rest you have already covered.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's for you, it's gonna be a kind of a repetitive thing. But yes, as I said, to enter as a DevOps engineer, you need these topics as well: Kubernetes, Docker, monitoring, CI/CD, and obviously GitHub, right?
And when this program is start?
I think next week.
Okay.
We're going to start next week. Yeah.
From 5th Feb onward, we are starting this. So this
Okay,
is
5th
in
Feb.
the
Okay.
introduction class, guys. And from 5th onward, we have a proper classes. From it's approximately 9 to 11, around 90 minutes or 2 hours class based on the topics.
Yeah, correct.
So this would be after the Linux class, correct?
Yes.
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 But
After
this
that.
is
Yeah.
going to be a more than 100 hours. So we cannot say we can run on weekend, because if in case it's on weekend, it's going to be a almost year. So within a 4 months or 5 months or 6 months, we are planning to finish. But yes, it's guaranteed. It's more than like approximately 100 hours or 110 hours.
Yeah. It can go up a little bit more based on your queries and your activity, your participation. We don't mind that. But generally, we close it within like 100 or 110 hours.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. So yeah, so this is it from my side for today. Gaurav, anything you want to add?
No, sir. Guys, any question, anything that you want to discuss with us regarding this program? So thanks, Amit sir. All done.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you.
Guys. Bye.